You are a phenomenal trial lawyer. And I'm just curious, from your perspective, what separates a good trial lawyer from a great one?
Good to great. I mean, passion. Your passion, like I have a little equation, like your passion has to be greater than the combination of your fear and the pain, right? So if your passion is driving you, and that passion can come from different things, right? It could come from, like for me, it's my grandfather came over here with the shirt on his back and gave up everything, came from a family of 1 of 9 for what, right? Not for himself. He did that for his grandkids and great grandkids and all that stuff. And so for my passion is like my grandfather didn't come here for nothing, right? And also like I've been given certain abilities to do things and I should do that. And if I don't, it's a waste, and that just comes from that 2-year period also of like really figuring out what you're good at. And I figured out that I was good at winning trials and good at doing depositions. And I just honed in on those skills. They talk about conscious competence and unconscious competence. I was unconscious competence the first 10 years. Like we used to joke about it. We would write openings, smoking cigarettes with a hangover on the way to the courthouse when we were young trial lawyers, and this is before really like social media and all that stuff. But we were that good that we could go win trials that the other side thought was a slam dunk and write our opening in the car on the way to the trial. But back then also, the courts would call you for trial. You're like on this, what they call the 2-week rolling docket. So I can remember one trial, got a call at the office and Zach and I are sitting around in our polo shirts. We probably were hungover. And the coordinator said, you guys are picking a jury at 2:00 today for a car wreck case. And I was like, what? Today? Did she say today? And my paralegal was like, yeah, today. It's like, well, I'm not even in a suit. And so we had no idea we were going to be called to trial that day. And so we went, I was like, hey, Zach, you go home. Let's meet back here at X o'clock and let's go. And we wrote the opening and the voir dire like in the car on the way over there, and a lot of the stuff that we still like came up with. Zach he passed away from brain cancer from glioblastoma a few years ago. But I mean, he's my brother from another mother. Like me and him went in the trenches together. I think one year we took 16 cases to trial and took, I want to say 10 to verdict that year, just back to back. We were in trial or we're getting ready for a trial and just flying by the seat of our pants. But a lot of the rules and the things that we did, not knowing what we were doing, I'd never seen a trial until the first time I did one. And I can remember Zach telling me, I was like, well, how do I know when it's time for me to go up? And what do I say when the judge does this and that? And what side of the courtroom I sit on, like real basic stuff, right? And he started explaining it to me because he worked for a very prominent trial lawyer back then and had seen a couple of trials, and he's trying to like tell me like how it goes down. And the one that always sticks in my mind was the breaking point, if you will, for me, was when he told me, after the judge does her instructions or his instructions to the jury, then they'll go to you to do your opening statement after they do the voir dire and all this stuff. And then I go, all right, then what? And I just get up and start going. He goes, no, you got to say, may it please the court. And I thought he was joking with me when he told this. I'd never heard this. And he said, I go, are you kidding? And he's like, no. I go, well, how do you say it? And he goes, they'll say, well, James Amaro, you may proceed, or plaintiff's counsel may proceed. And then you go, may it please the court. I go, may it please the court what? I go, I don't get it. This doesn't make any sense. I go, that sounds so stupid. I'm not going to say that. And he's like, you're supposed to say it, the judge is going to get mad. I go, I'm not going to say it, dude. And at this point, Zach and I, like, he looked a little older than I am. I look like I was like 18 years old still, right? I'm like maybe 30, and I just didn't do it. I wasn't going to do it. Now I have to do it because now the judge would know that I know what I'm doing. But I look so young. I got away with murder as a young trial lawyer, and I tried cases that we probably wouldn't try nowadays, right? But these were impossible cases to win. And that's what I cut my teeth on. Like, it was like a challenge to me. And I had a very experienced paralegal that still works for me today. She knew these defense attorneys, and she had this look on her face. I can remember when we were just blazing in and out. I could remember this one guy, I don't want to say his name, but let's just say he just thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. And we were coming off a roll of winning like 3 or 4 trials back to back from everything from like insurance claims to personal injury. I mean, just everything, right, that we were trying back then. And this was like what a lot of people would say a case you wouldn't even take. I'm talking a really, really bad case in facts. Minor impact, soft tissue, you know, the hard car wreck. Those cases are hard to try and to win. I'll tell you that. Winning some big cases, you know, wrongful death and that type of stuff, those are hard cases. They got their own challenges. It's high stakes, but the case where you might not even win, like those are tough. And this guy, he had tried like 300 something cases, and he just thought he was just so freaking awesome. And my paralegal had worked for him and told us, like, she had this look on her face when I walked by the office. I was like, yeah, we're going to go. Yeah, I wonder what the jury's going to do. You know, I'm all nonchalant about it. And she had this look on her face like, you don't know what you're in for. And I go, and I picked it up. I go, hey, what's with the face? She goes, I'm not going to say anything. I go, you think I'm going to lose? You really think I'm going to lose? And she's like, I don't know. I was like, watch this. We went, we kicked that guy's ass so royally in this case that the entire jury stayed afterwards to talk to us. This is the only time this has ever happened in all our trials, that we're packing our stuff up, you know, off to the next one, laughing, high-fiving about it, me and Zach. And the judge comes out and she's like, hey, the jury wants to talk to you. And, you know, a lot of lawyers, they like to like run out in the hall and talk to the jurors. I got my own personal reasons why I think that's a waste of time. But we didn't do that. And I was like, they want to talk to us about what? They don't want to go home, right? It was like nighttime already. So we went and talked to them, and they just gave us all these props and told us, like, because we didn't know why we were winning. Going back to my point, like conscious competence, unconscious competence, we had no idea why we were winning. And now I do know is that we were authentic, we were real, and we just told it how it was to the jury, and we triggered their emotions. You know, there's a lot of training out there about the reptilian part of the brain and all that stuff. We had figured that out in the very beginning. I used to call them trigger words. Like, we would come up with trigger words. I was like, we'd come up with a phrase, and we would like test it out with friends and family, come up with a phrase that's going to trigger their emotions. And then anytime we want to turn it up, just use that phrase, and we could figure that out in voir dire. And it's become a lot more developed since then, and with all these trial lawyer schools and everything. But, you know, back then, young guys were just flying by the seat of our pants, figuring it out. But, you know, I guess we were on to something. We just didn't know what we were doing.